Hello, and welcome to American Cinema Lecture 1, the post-war period. Now, World War II was a really important event in the 20th century, probably the defining moment, and that's what begins this period in history. And it defines everything that happens afterwards. That's why we call it the post-war period. Now, before we go any further, I just want to remind you to watch Lecture 0, the one preceding, which is the course orientation. That's where I tell you how the course is going to proceed and how things go. This week, we're only going to focus on the content. So if you haven't, go back and watch Lecture 0. Okay, it's the post-war period. And America has emerged as the world leader financially, economically, and certainly militarily. But also Hollywood. Hollywood has emerged, and was before really, the world leader in cinema and entertainment. The difference now, of course, is that most of the world's film industries have been destroyed in war. So therefore, Hollywood is cranking out entertainment for the world now in a huge, huge way. This leads to the highest movie attendance ever recorded in 1946. Essentially, in the post-war period, Hollywood, now let's remember that's our film industry in America, Hollywood, is at its peak, 1946, highest attendance. They didn't know it at the time, but it's all downhill from there. The industry begins a very slow decline that we will see over the next few lectures. The first major point to bring up in this decline would be 1948 and the Paramount decision. This is a decision by the Supreme Court which essentially forced Hollywood to stop being a monopoly and divest itself of its theaters. They had to sell their theaters. Now in the video lecture compilation, you'll see why that was so huge. That was where the revenue was. And essentially it cripples Hollywood financially. All right, this happens over a number of years. So what we see is the studio system is threatened, the studio system being the entity and the organizational structure for Hollywood. They respond, of course, and we will see the details of this examined in the video lecture that I've compiled for you. All right. Moving on, I just want to remind you that this is a survey course, okay, where we're not watching a singular film in its entirety and examining it and close. We're watching several films. We're looking at a plethora of cinema to sort of get a sense for the era. So the films I've selected for you for this week are, first off, All About Eve. Classic Hollywood, very literate, very verbose, a lot about dialogue and dialogue exchange, female protagonist at the lead, which was common prior to the war. Second film, perhaps the most important, Best Years of Our Lives, a film that swept the Oscars, that was beloved in America and really captures the post-war spirit and what the soldiers returning from home were going through. By the way, the photo that you're looking at here in the image is soldiers returning from war on a plane. Look how happy they are. They're very excited the war's over. There was a very jubilant spirit in this time, and soldiers came back from war, started families, moved to the suburbs, we'll discuss that as we move into the 50s, and created what we began to call the baby boom. Okay, we have a huge population explosion after the war. Look at how happy these guys' faces are. They can't wait to get back to American soil and American women, as it turns out. So these are some of the films. Oh, forgot the last one. The third film, film noir. Now this is a little bit of a deeper cut. These were not the most popular films. These were darker films, film noir films, and the film I selected is Double Indemnity, which was nominated for an Academy Award. It was seen and popular, but most of these films were B-grade films. They were the second feature of a double feature. In this day, you often paid for a double feature. You got one film, and then you got a second one, and often those were film noir. So we have a selection of films. Please watch the clips explaining those films and as much of the clips of the actual films as you can to get the sense of it. All right, so that's the setup lecture. That's what's going on in America at this time. We're transitioning out of war and into a new kind of economy. Hollywood's on top, but trouble is on the way. All right, reach out if you have any questions. I hope you enjoy this week's lecture and information and films. Have a great week.